City of Salem, the City Council Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, met in the Council Chamber on May 19th, 2026 for the purpose of discussing the matters of the fiscal year 2027 operating budget and capital improvement plans for the following departments: the mayor, the legal department, including solicitor, licensing, PEG Access Enterprise Fund, and DEI, human resources, including human resources, IT, and the library. Notice this meeting was posted on May 1st, 2026 at 10:54 a.m. In attendance, we have from the Committee of Administration and Finance, Councilor Sidoriak, Councilor King, Councilor Tarowski. From the Committee of the Whole, we have Councilors Halapa, Councilor Smith, Councilor Prosnowski, and Council President Merkel. Also with us are Mayor Pangalo, Chief of Staff Lisa Peterson, and Finance Director James LeBlanc. So this is our first Administration and Finance Committee hearing for our fiscal year 2027 budget. The meetings will run through mid-June. The agendas are posted on the city calendar. The entire proposed budget, as well as the budget in brief, is posted on the city website under the Finance Department. The latter includes an overview of budget priorities, timelines, revenue sources, and in general where our money goes. In these budget meetings, we'll take a deep dive into what our city departments do and their vision going forward. I encourage members of the public to email questions in regards to the budget hearings to kdavis@salem.com. And a very big thank you to James LeBlanc, our finance director, and the rest of the finance team for their hard work that goes into the budget every year. So we are going to start. We're going to go out of order. We're going to start with our legal department. That's going to be on tab 10 with the budget summary on page 380.
Sorry?
Do you guys need this?
All right, I will give it away to legal.
Good evening. My name's James Wellock. I'm the... we've got a microphone.
Speak right directly into the microphone. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now? Closer? Closer. All right. All right. Hello. How about... Is that better? Okay. My name's James Wellock. I'm the city solicitor and the head of the legal department. We have 5 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. So the solicitor, an assistant city solicitor, the DEI director, paralegal, and the clerk of the license commission are our full-time employees. We also have the municipal hearing officer who works as needed, and a special legal counsel part-time position. So what does the legal department do? We provide advice to all of the various department heads, legal advice. We field questions and inquiries and help all of our city councilors with various needs of the council, whether it be drafting an ordinance or answering a procedural question. We represent the city in court, in Superior Court, in federal court, before state boards and commissions, whether it be a contract action, someone suing the city, or the city seeking to enforce the law. That happens sometimes as well. We have been working on a number of goals and objectives this past year, including tightening up our short-term rental ordinance and coming up with a process to make the short-term rental process a more transparent and safe process. There are many goals and objectives listed here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I think the The main difference between last year's budget and this one is the increase in the stipend for the records access officer. So my office does handle all public records requests that come into the city that is not part of the school's public records or the police department's public records, and we provide a stipend for that. So there's a small increase there. We also increased the budget item for the 40U municipal hearing officer just because it was a new program that started halfway through the last fiscal year, so we're anticipating with increased enforcement and a longer duration that we'll need more money to cover that. We added a stipend for our accounts payable work that was previously grant funded. There's a new position in my department that is the part-time attorney who is the former city solicitor who's working on a number of special projects for our department, which we're very grateful for. The salary adjustments for the 3 of the 4 full-time employees, I believe the other one is covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and an increase in the staff training budget for the language assessments and training. Would you say that's a good intro? Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have questions from the council? Councilor Lapa.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of the committee, did I hear you correctly that one of the goals is to help encourage, was it larger enforcement of the short-term rental ordinance? Did I hear that, or did I make that up in my head?
To encourage enforcement?
Or to assist with enforcement. I think I misheard part of the word, so I don't.
Yes, we do that. So one of the challenges in the short-term rental field is identifying which properties are actually being used as short-term rentals, because you can't always tell that from viewing the property from the sidewalk. So when a number of complaints are made by neighbors or by people who have rented a property, the Board of Health will request assistance from my department in issuing subpoenas to booking agents to get the records directly from the booking agents, which would then show or would be evidence in enforcing the ordinance and issuing fines.
Mm-hmm. And so how much of that work would you say is responsible for the 25% increase in revenue from the short-term rental impact fees that's in the budget here?
I'm not sure.
This is the good thing, by the way. I'm trying to give you some props.
Can I respond to this one? So the community impact fee for short-term rentals is not based on enforcement of the registration ordinance. That is a 3% assessment that's collected by DOR and returned to the city. So the increase is more a reflection of more short-term rentals.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of the committee, I also want to comment on the oversight for the short-term rentals. I remember when I first got elected years ago, the work you did on that, getting the subpoena power for the platforms, and I really think we're in a much better place because of those efforts than we were a couple of years ago, and I hear of a lot less issues, and I just want to express appreciation for that, because that was a heavy lift. And I remember the ordinance changes coming through the council and reworking that a lot. So I want to express appreciation for that. And also you had mentioned the public records request. I was wondering if you could offer some clarity on that because yes, I am on emails where I see that public records requests are coming in, and I'm sure they're very time consuming for staff. I believe there's a point where if it's taking up, just curious, that they're taking up so much time that there can actually be a fee for it. I just wanted to know if you wanted to elaborate on that. I found that interesting when I had asked, I remember like a while back, what happens if it's just endless, so what happens there?
Sure, thank you. We field, I don't know the actual number of public records requests that we field. It's a great many, and that number has increased. It seems like the public is very aware that any record that the city generates or receives is a public record unless an exception applies. There's a whole slew of exceptions that could apply. So when we receive a request, we have to spend some time gathering the records and then reviewing the records to determine if any information in those records needs to be withheld under the law. The law requires us to withhold information if it's protected information, and so we have a duty to protect people's information, and that is time-consuming. There's a great many hours are spent on public records requests.
Councilor King?
Thank you. I was curious, one of the objectives of your department is to track and monitor abandoned properties and working on rehabilitating them and getting them used again. Could you speak a little bit more to any, if there's any challenges you've had with that work, what the, ways that that work could be furthered, if there, given anything your department could be giving to help make that more successful?
So we did modify the abandoned foreclosed property ordinance last year. I believe it was last year. The council modified it so that vacant properties are required to register, and we added certain notice requirements for the property owner to be posted on the property for it to be registered. We increased the fee for that because there are now going to be fewer properties that were going to need to be registered, but the cost of the software and the staffing was going to be the same. As far as improving it, I think that adding back, honestly, the properties that are going into foreclosure may be a good solution. I think that at that point, there are more people involved, there are more interested parties, the banks are involved. Identifying vacant properties is very difficult because there's no one there. So it would require a neighbor to be aware that the property's overgrown and to have the initiative to call it into our inspectional services department, or for it to come to our attention some other way. Where banks are involved in the foreclosure process, a property can be foreclosed on, and it can then sit vacant for quite a while before it's brought to the city's attention. So I have found that could be one area where that it could be improved.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Doriak?
Thank you, Chair Davis. My first question is, I didn't see it in the budget, but do we contract any outside counsel?
We do from time to time, yes. There's under legal services, that's how we pay for our outside counsel out of that budget.
Has there been any consideration on if that grows, finding ways to bring that in-house, or are we getting certain efficiencies by contracting out because we're not dealing with fringe benefits?
Yes, so we part of the benefit of having of two full-time attorneys on staff is that we do a lot of legal work in-house. Our outside counsel needs at this time, I think, are probably status quo from last year. So I think that we have a pretty good relationship with a number of specifically municipal law firms that we work with regularly and I think efficiently. So I think it's appropriately budgeted.
And I think for fiscal year 2027, the city's got a lot of work with zoning and developments possibly coming online. And then for this upcoming election, there's going to be a ton of ballot initiatives that could cause some sort of legal conversations. Does this budget account for that work, the work that maybe we're anticipating in regards to zoning and development, as well as possible legal conversations in regards to how the ballot initiatives go?
I did not add in additional potential legal costs for those matters that you just flagged. I think at this point, it would be difficult to predict whether or not that could happen. But I don't think that we've spent all of the money that was budgeted in previous years, so I think we should be okay.
Great. And then there's a few goals that I just want to highlight, but I think all of them are worthwhile considering what is the amount of time and effort that goes into them. For the ballot initiative ranked choice voting, how much time is going to go into that on the city side as opposed to, who is leading this effort? I know there's a lot of nonprofits that are trying to lead this. Is the city really taking a lot of effort to try to formulate something and get ahead of it, or are they collaborating with these nonprofits? And then the other goal that I think stood out is the City Seal Task Force. Like, how much time and effort is going into that from the legal department as opposed to your just general obligations?
So for the ranked choice voting, we're working with outside counsel in drafting a home rule petition that's, I believe, a committee has already voted for us to do that, and so that's presently working on now. And that work may continue into the future. If it's submitted to the legislature, it's kind of in their hands. There won't be a tremendous amount more work from my department on that. As far as the City Seal Task Force, the task force is, to my knowledge, has been concluded. That task is concluded. And I'm not sure what discussions are remaining. That's kind of up to the council.
So what does it mean to close out work on any of these goals?
I'm sorry?
What does it mean to close out work on any of these goals? Which is what is stated in the book.
I think it's just to tie up whatever loose ends remain as is needed by the council or
My final question, are there any goals or objectives that you think are going to be more time consuming than others that you need to ensure that you have staff time devoted to it?
It's funny, as I look at all of them, it's hard to rank them that way. So many goals and priorities here. It's an interesting question. I'll have to give it some more thought.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Other questions from the council? Councilor Trowski.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Is there, I know home rule petitions have historically been difficult to get traction on at the state level. Is there a tracking mechanism anywhere that we can see what the progress has been made on things that have been submitted to the state?
There is. The legislature does have a website that lists all of the bills with the docket numbers and the title and the text of it and where it stands in that process. It is a complicated process, and there is an online guide for that process as well. But as far as an online tracker of just ours, I'm not sure that there's any sort of mechanism for that. I think you can, if you create an account on their website, you might be able to select and flag different pieces of legislation. I have not received any updates through that process, so I'm not sure how well it works.
Okay, but the city doesn't have anything locally curated to track those things. Lydia, probably.
Not that I'm aware of.
Councilor King.
Thank you. So my understanding is that there are third-party softwares that are available in the state of Massachusetts that can effectively do that, but they do cost money, and it makes sense that we're not paying for one because you can just get it off the website. It's just a pain. So there are softwares out there if we wanted to do that, but my understanding is mostly like organizations, like nonprofits, will pay for them, or lobbying organizations because they're kind of expensive. They don't make it easy to do it via the website.
Mayor?
If I can add also a plug for our legislative delegation. We've reached out to Representative Cruz and his staff, or Senator Lovely and her team. and ask for an update on Salem's home petitions. They're usually pretty responsive in providing a great list of where everything's stuck at the moment.
Thank you, James. And personal thank you for always being incredibly responsive. I think I've sent you many very complicated legal questions, and you always responded very quickly.
Appreciate it.
So we are going to go to page 380 if there's no other questions.
I just want to flag, so we handed out a replacement page for 381 for you, for the personnel page. We appreciate all of our employees, but inadvertently in the spreadsheet, 2 of them received COLA twice. So the correct number for the personnel bottom line for this department is $596,025. So it's less than what's in your binder. It should be replaced with this page. The expenditures number is still the same, so the total for the department is actually $681,925.
Could you repeat the personnel number?
So the total personnel is $596,025. So just replace the page. Correct.
Councillor King, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the solicitor's personnel budget in the amount of $596,025.
Second.
Councillor King recommends approval of the Solicitor and Licensing Board personnel line item in the amount of $596,025, seconded by Councillor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the Solicitor Legal Department expenditures budget in the amount of $687,000, $687,061. I don't know why I couldn't say that. I move to approve that.
Mayor.
That is the total budget.
Oh, where's the, okay, now.
The expenditures is the $85,900.
I take it back. There we go. We're learning. I retract my prior motion. Chair Davis, I motion to recommend the approval of the solicitor's expenditures budget of $85,900.
Second.
Councillor King motions to approve the Solicitor and Licensing Board expenditures line item in the amount of $85,900, seconded by Councillor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And for the public's knowledge, that brings us to a department total. Say?
Oh, we gotta do, James, you have to do PEG access. Excuse me? PEG.
Of $681,925.
You wanna talk,
Okay, so we will
do you wanna talk about what PEG is?
be moving on to the PEG Access Enterprise. This is going to be on page 676. For those that are flipping to that, it's a little confusing. This is actually in tab 10. So just don't flip too far, even though it's a very high number. This is the PEG Access Enterprise on page 676. And do we have comments and thoughts to share about this?
Sure, I can speak to that. So this amount,
You just want to, thank you.
There we go.
Yep, anyone flipping for this? This is still in tab 10. For some reason, it jumps to 600, but it's just a few pages after where we just were on 380. 676.
Ready? So this is a pass-through account. This number doesn't change. It's the same amount every year. It's essentially representing the 5% that's on people's cable bills that comes in and is funds local cable access. So there's no city funds being expended. It's revenue coming in and then funding going out.
Any questions from the council on this? All right, Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend approval of the PEG access expenditures budget in the amount of $691,250.
Second.
Councillor King recommends approval of the Solicitor and Licensing Board PEG access expenditures line item in the amount of $691,250, seconded by Councillor Zadoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Human Resources budget. This is going to include admin, a vote for workers' comp, unemployment, and group insurance. We're going to be flipping to tab 11. We've got a budget summary on 389. And welcome to our Human Resources Director, Lisa Camarada.
Chair's kind of low. Hi, everybody. How are you? Okay. So it's interesting, I heard James say, what does the legal department do? So I sat over there and I said, what does the HR department do? And I think we do some really cool stuff. Sometimes it's not the best of occasions and the best situations, but I'll start out, I feel we're strong and we're interactive with all the other departments. There are 4 full-time employees. Myself as the director, I have a office manager, we have a benefits manager, and a personnel aide. And our combined years of experience, I put this on my narrative, is like over 60 years, which is kind of cool. It's just a lot. I mean, Alicia's been there for over 30. I'm on my 19th year. So you can show this dedication there. What I thought about the other day when I was working on my narrative, there's been many other opportunities in other departments, yet my staff decides to stay where they are. So I think that says a lot for that they like what they do, and we're very happy. And so our department is responsible for all sorts of things. I mean, I think I've interacted with all of you over the, over the last several years or even just recently, but, we do the basics. We post vacant positions, we process resumes, we schedule interviews, follow-ups, we hire part-time, full-time staff. We onboard new employees. We really try to make sure that people understand what their benefits are, what the job entails. We set up performative exercises for new employees. It isn't just one interview. We bring people back for a second interview if we're interested. And then we'll actually have them show us, certain things the job requires that they're actually capable of doing. It's sort of a disservice if we bring somebody on who may not have all of the skills that we thought they had, as well as for the department. It's just, it's sort of a recipe for failure. So we try to do those things ahead of time. We do participate in termination proceedings, unfortunately, at times. We conduct exit interviews. We work with Mass Hire on their HR matters. We administer workers' comp, unemployment. We'll talk about health insurance in a little while. That's the largest number in my budget. That seems to climb. I was a little jealous when I heard PEG doesn't go up every year, whereas everything in my department does, at least as far as the insurances go. We work with the Treasurer's Department to make sure that people are paid correctly and in compliance with the contracts. We hear grievances, policies, procedures. I mean, I have the bullets there, but we do a lot of really cool stuff, and it's a lot of fun. That's my overview. We have other things we can talk about. We'll talk about unemployment and health insurance and workers' compensation when we get to it.
Thank you very much. Questions from the council? Councilor Turowski.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Lisa, you did a great job of onboarding us and introducing us to all of our options, and we all recently started, so thank you for all of your hard work.
You're welcome.
I was curious, what sorts of public transportation does the department subsidize for city employees?
So that's actually one of my goals. is to work with the PERC. There's a program called PERC where the city can actually purchase and/or subsidize passes, and it allows employees to purchase them pre-tax, much like the flexible spending plan that we do. So that is in the works. Not a lot of communities do it. I talked with Boston. I think there's one other. So that is on deck. I want to get that underway this year because I know that it's a concern. Tara's here from the library. We talked about that during negotiations for the library contract because a lot of, not just the library, but it's difficult to parking, on Essex Street, especially certain times of the year. But we do have employees coming, from other areas that would just take the T, they would take the commuter rail, even the ferry, right? So a lot of that all works, and so that is on deck.
Thank you.
Councilor Storiak.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Does your office track the vacancies of positions that are on paper but not filled?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean, vacancy.
Unfilled positions. Is HR in charge of tracking that?
Yes.
Do you know offhand how many of those might be?
Okay. They're on the. We have 2 part-time positions. You know what? I'm drawing a blank.
It's okay.
Why don't I know this?
So you're part of the process of
Oh, yes. So when a person,
recruiting, onboarding people, recruiting in the sense that they come and they apply. Are you part of any process to seek and recruit and try to bring in talent?
oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. I was like trying to think in my head, like, what do I have for vacancies on our website right now? No, so when a job becomes vacant, right, like we just had someone give their notice over, well, I don't know if she's told everybody yet. So we had someone give their notice. And so I've already sent the job description off to the department head, see if she wants to make any changes to it. And then what'll happen is we'll post it on our website once it's public. We'll also go on the MMA, the Mass Municipal Association website. And then depending on what the role is, for example, like in our building department, that role actually went on there's an acronym for it, but it's a website where people that are interested in working in a building department or doing inspections would apply for that type of a role. So that's where we would post them to recruit, if that's kind of what you're getting at, I think.
Is your office part of any active recruiting?
So we have participated in job fairs, and when we do, we actually, this past year, with the Department of Public Services, Ray and I have set up, Ray and along with his staff, we've done, I call them job fairs for labor service, and we'll do, we'll notify everyone, or we'll post it on our website, depending on what we're looking for, and it'll be, come on down, whether or not you have a CDL license, a hoisting license, you have the CDLA, which is really helpful and valuable, and then we bring them all in and sort of do a recruitment right there. So,
and generally, do you think across the entire city that we're fairly competitive in being able to bring in employees?
yeah, I mean, a few years ago, especially like after the pandemic, we saw it was a little difficult because they're all competing for the same talent. But I have to tell you, we do get a lot of resumes and a lot of applicants. I mean, we have great benefits here, and people are happy to come here. Like people in an interview will say, what made you apply here? And we do talk about the benefits and the different, there's opportunity for growth. But people will say, I just love Salem. I love what you guys are doing. Super progressive. Everything that's happening here, and they want to be part of it.
And over the course of the last few years, as technology has changed, as AI has sort of been a part of people's application process, are you noticing that, and are you seeing more applications coming in, and are you just in the sense that people are able to put more resumes out, applications, churn them out, and does the staff have the capacity to go through that?
Not sure I understand the AI part of that question, but I think it depends what the job is. Like I was joking with Tom Daniel the other day in the planning department. He has a part-time position. I think we've got probably a stack this high of resumes, which is just interesting. I say, everybody wants to work in the planning department, and I said, of course they do, because they do some really cool things too. We have a specific email address, jobs@salem.com, where all the resumes should come in. We don't, we track them. We keep track of what they are. We do spreadsheets and that sort of thing. Still a lot of paper handling, but it works.
Do you have the capacity for it?
Oh, yes.
Has there been any sort of considerations for making that more efficient and possibly using AI to be able to sift through all that?
No, actually. I mean, I would be open to looking at it. I don't know that we're sort of overwhelmed in that aspect.
So it's not a need.
No, it's not a huge problem. I watch tomorrow we'll probably get like 600 resumes, but no, it really isn't a problem right now. I don't know that we have a need for. Yeah, we can handle it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor King?
Thank you, Chair Davis. I have a couple quick questions. I will just say in general with usage of AI, I would be cautious unless we have an enterprise subscription to one of the major generative AI tools like ChatGPT Enterprise or like a Claude Enterprise, just because any data you put into the free versions is no longer your data. It will violate any policies that we might have about not sharing data with outside entities. So just a thought on that. I was curious about, my understanding is that this year some employees had the opportunity to do goal setting for the year. Could you talk a little bit more about the process for setting like career pathing for employees and making sure that they feel like they're really getting, they have a long-term future here and that they're hitting goals at the City of Salem?
So, you're talking about my goals that I put in here, or just staff-wise?
HR policy to help encourage employees' growth in the City of Salem.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lisa Peterson was part of that, but I can speak a little bit to it if you want, but that's probably a better idea.
So that process was administered through my office, so maybe we can take that up when we get to my office, because Lisa was
Do we do annual or biannual performance reviews with every employee?
So I would say formalized, no, yet I do believe, departments hold staff meetings. I know I do. I know that they're regularly, set with departments, and, I think it's important just to talk to your staff one-on-one, like, how's that going? This, I need this by the end of the day. You okay? Do you need assistance with that? That sort of thing.
Okay. And then I'm curious, and this might be another question for the mayor, so let me know if it's the wrong thing. I am curious about the city's current work from home policy for I don't even know if there are eligible positions, but like, what is the current work from home policy?
So it's called the flex policy. We had remote and flex, and then the mayor and I worked on this. It is more, it's flex and work. It's flex time as well as remote, but it's combined. So the total that an employee can do is, I believe, up to 18 hours, whether it's flexing 18 of their hours or working from home. There's an agreement that they need to apply for it. You need to be working here for at least 3 months before an employee can apply for it, and then it's up for review, depending on what the situation is. And, I think we know, during the pandemic, I mentioned the pandemic before, but, a lot of, we all were at home, right, trying to figure things out. And there are some roles that can be done from home. There are some roles that can't. And we, that's spelled out right in the policy. In fact, we're putting that now even on our conditional offer letters, whether or not, like the conditions, receipt of a background check, receipt of a favorable query, whatever we look for, plus understanding this role is 100% in the office. There's no ability for remote. So there are some roles that just don't lend themselves to that, and employees are aware of that.
Okay. You mentioned flex remote up to 18 hours. I'm curious what the time period for that 18 hours is. Is that basically like out of a 40-hour work week? That max is 18 hours?
Yes.
And then for employees that do qualify for work from home, right, they've gone through the application process and all of that, are they, from a technology point of view, are they then working on their personal laptop, for example, or are they issued a laptop through the city? Like, how does that part work from a technology point of view?
I believe everyone is using a city-issued laptop. I can maybe ask IT, but I'm quite sure everyone is using a city-issued laptop.
So really all it is it's just allowing that person to take that laptop home and do things on their laptop at home.
Yes.
My last question on this.
Sure.
If there's a scenario where city offices have to be closed, such as a snowstorm, that's what I'm thinking of as a snowstorm, and employees have not been approved for remote work at that time, are they then not able to do remote work, or would they still be able to work from home in those situations?
So that would be, I don't want to say a case by case, but sometimes that happens, right? I mean, somebody may choose to work from home, even though, they might have something they want to catch up on, right? We're all famous for checking our emails at night or on the weekends, that sort of thing. So I think what would happen if we are closed and the person chooses to work, if the city's closed, they're going to get paid anyway. So they could choose to work and do some work if they want. But there are some that wouldn't be able to, right? And so then we might talk with them afterwards, and maybe there's comp time for the time that they worked, because they worked while we were actually closed, and they weren't really able to, they wouldn't have come to work because we were closed, even if they weren't working remotely, kind of thing.
That makes sense. The reason I ask is I'm just thinking through, there's obvious positions that have to work during a snowstorm, for example, the department, the DPS, for example. Obviously, those positions are going to be working in person during a snowstorm. I'm thinking about departments that maybe are a little bit more constituent facing and maybe mostly handle like phone calls and emails, who might actually be seeing an uptick during a snowstorm and people trying to reach them because they need assistance from the city. People who maybe they've emailed the snow email and they haven't gotten an answer, so now they're emailing like the mayor's office or something, just as an example. And in those cases, like, you're saying that basically like people in, for example, the mayor's office, basically there's no requirement for them to work because City Hall is closed, so even though they're at home with their laptop, we might have to compensate them extra to be able to answer those emails?
That's possible, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if part of the job function is to be responsive during a public safety event or a weather event, that employee is on the clock, whether it's DPW, constituent services, they're working and they need to be responsive. If that person's job is to take money in the collector's office and the building is closed because of snow, there's no expectation that person's they can't work from home. And so similarly, if they have the ability to work from home, but everybody else is off because the building is closed, they can work, to Lisa's point. They're not required to work. So if you're a planner, you have a laptop, you can go home, but everybody else has basically closed for the day, you're not required to work.
So it's it's role by role, certain positions where you would, like where there is still work to be done when City Hall is closed and the person is able to work from home, and they don't need to apply for it in that case.
Right.
Yeah.
And they would be, in theory, expected to work from home, in theory.
This is an incredibly rare instance. Like,
Right.
I want to be clear that like in the 14 years I've worked for the city, I think it's happened maybe 3 times. Typically, when we have a snow event that of even a parking ban is required for, we'll try to at least have a skeleton crew in place so that the building can remain open with 1 person per office. But when we have significant snowstorms, when we've completely had to close the building because of safety reasons.
Yeah, I mean, we had like a city agenda that like we couldn't get a city council agenda posted because of a snowstorm this year, so we missed a city council meeting because of that. So that's like what I'm thinking of when I think of like the person who is at home needs the technology to be able to do something like that. But I understand why it didn't happen. It's not on that individual. I'm just like asking, like, how do we make it so that person could have done that if they were able to? And I don't know how it works. Like, yeah. It sounded like that might have been a technology.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that because we weren't involved.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Lapa.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of the committee, I have a comment, a quick question, and a slightly longer question. So my comment is I would highly encourage the city broadly to really invest in some more formalized goal-setting procedures within the departments. Not only is that a great way to make sure that goals are getting accomplished, but it's also really a great way to make sure that the employee is given the time to commit to those goals. And it sort of creates that, not only expectation, but also the paper trail, the agreement between the employee and the employer. It's not just, I think sometimes when people think of goal setting, it's like the employer telling the employee to do something, but it is really a two-sided agreement. So that's my comment. A quick question with regard to the Ward 1 councilor's question about, or just a further question on that about the public transportation cost-saving measures. I understand it's in the works. Is the Blue Bikes going to be part of that program as far as what you're working on so far?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last, I heard
So
blue.
you'd mentioned the T and some, like broadly, some of the transportation modes that you're looking at. Will the Blue Bikes program that we have in the city be included in that program? As one of the options that is covered.
Okay, so that I was not aware of, but I will look into that.
Okay. And then the somewhat longer question. I notice on page 387, one of the first item in this table here is that the Corey checks have gone up significantly. I think this is just number per year, right? That's just number, that's not a cost, right? So my understanding is there's been a recent policy change with regard to, in particular with volunteers
Yes.
and filling out Corey. Could you go into the details more about that and like tell us why that policy change was made?
So I will tell you that it was, so we have a Corey policy, which requires us to run a background check, criminal record check. We have access through iCorey, which is through the state. And our Corey policy is for volunteers, interns, and of course, potential employees. And, I don't even want to say we didn't know. I mean, I know we have volunteers. It all of a sudden it came across. It was this past year, honestly. And Alicia in my office said she's got some it was one of the departments, I don't want to single anybody out, but there's volunteers, and she wants to know if they need to sign it because they have a waiver. And I said, are we Coreying these people? Like, it just sort of hit us. And so that's when, that was part of the big increase. And so we explained it to people. We met with the departments who have volunteers that explained why we were doing it. And, I don't want to say there was pushback, but it was like, why all of a sudden, much like what you're asking, right? You don't know what you don't know. I know I volunteer for certain things, but, I work here, I was Coreyed a long time ago, and all that sort of thing, right? So it just kind of morphed, and so we're doing it. Plus, we do have a lot of, we Corey our seasonal employees when they come back every year, or even after that. And plus with the elections, we have new poll workers, because we do Corey everybody. So that is what the uptick is for.
Okay, so it's not so much a policy change as much as, dare I say, policy enforcement?
Yeah, broader enforcement, yes. I
Or
would call
awareness
that,
of it, right?
yes.
So this is maybe I'm not sure you'll have an answer to this, but I'm curious on your thoughts. So given, let's say, the current federal situation with the federal government and overreach in a variety of forms, including data privacy, including enforcement of certain federal laws, there are some folks that might be a little bit apprehensive about, that are looking to volunteer, looking to give back to their community. They're a little bit perhaps apprehensive about doing this part. What assurances could you give some of those folks? Obviously understanding that like this policy is for the safety of volunteers, the employees, the city, et cetera.
So actually, you kind of perfectly said what I was going to say. So when this has happened, because initially with some of the staff who have volunteers, that was one of the first questions, and understandably so, right? So we said, if that happens, we're happy to talk with them. If there's a language barrier, I speak Spanish. I'm happy to speak and explain, why we're doing it. It's for your protection, it's for our protection, and it is not going anywhere, right? It is going literally from a form that's filled out right into the iCorey system, and once we get the results back, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? And we're committed to our volunteers, right? We want them to know that we want them to still volunteer. And I don't think we had anybody refuse. But there was the option for, if there's, like I said, a language barrier, bring them in. We'll talk to them one-on-one, bring them wherever anybody wants to be, at their own place to be met, just to explain why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Sidoric.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I just have two additional questions, one being on the health insurance. Are there any innovative approaches maybe that other municipalities are using to try to mitigate the rising costs of health insurance? Or is this just something that municipalities kind of have to deal with?
So I think we are in the best place we could possibly be. We joined the GIC back in 2012, and I can tell you it was a painful process. Some employees Conrad was employed back then, right? And so I just remember it was, and I don't mean to point, I'm sorry, Council Presnowski was employed with us back then, and it was a big push, right? I mean, there was, all of a sudden, we'd be able to sort of call the shots when it came to health insurance, because anything we ever wanted to do, whether it was plan design, or co-pays or any types of changes, they needed to be negotiated. And so that was a big change for all of our employees. And so what I'm getting at is, once we joined the GIC, I can't imagine what our rates would be with a private carrier. Because, I mean, the GIC is huge, right? I mean, you can tell the carriers to sharpen their pencils. So I don't think there's anything we could do differently as far as, cutting costs. I think to help employees, find a plan that's more affordable is to do what we're doing, which is, huge education sessions. I mean, we did a presentation this year that's actually on our website if you all want to watch it, that just goes over all of the information on open enrollment, how to choose a plan. You don't need to pick, the Cadillac plan, which is like $3,000 a month. If, you go to the doctor once a year, right? Take a smaller network plan, and, your monthly cost will be so much less. So, I mean, internally we can do a lot. I don't know. I mean, try to keep our employees healthy. I mean, encourage them to go for their annual physical. I mean, part of the Affordable Care Act years ago is that, your preventative visit is no charge, right? So there's no copay, there's nothing. I mean, stay healthy so that, down the road there is, the utilization, would be down. But I mean, I can tell you, we've gone up. In fact, I just signed the form now because we're in our second year of our contract with the GIC, and we're going to try to figure out what we'll do on 7/1 of '27 to get our utilization. We'll just get what our utilization is, which means what our claims are. We won't know who they are. I mean, it's all in the aggregate, and our consultant will look at it. It's part of our responsibility with our Public Employee Committee, and we'll go out to bid. But I mean, I can tell you they can't come close to the GIC's rates, even though these were high this year. I can't imagine what the rate would be, because what will happen is somebody may buy our business at this great rate, then they'll look at our utilization a year later. I mean, we insure 1,800, almost 1,900 enrollees, and that's not including like family members and all of that. So we're big, and we use our plans.
Okay, thank you. And then my final question is on workers' compensation. It seems like that we have a target that we try to budget for medicals, and then it looks like, I assume we pay out things that we didn't anticipate. Are we smoothing this out the best way that we can by targeting for $5,000?
So, excuse me, yes. Actually, the reason why there was, well, let me explain one thing. We are insured with Maya for our workers' compensation insurance, but we have claims that were alive and in process prior to when we joined Maya. So Maya only took us, from 2008 to the present. So what they call tail claims, which are people who were permanent and totally disabled, who we are paying a workers' compensation salary, which is why there's a salary line in there. There's still 4 people on that. And then if there were any medicals associated with those claims. A couple of years ago, we did have an employee who was also a pre-Maya claim, who required, actually a couple of them required some extensive surgeries. And so we had to pay those because we were on the hook for those. So that's why I went in for a supplemental. But I mean, knock on wood and fingers crossed, because we haven't even spent nearly what we needed what I put in for last year. So I thought that'd be a place to at least try to put in a cut.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor King.
Point of clarification, because the motions are all separate motions, are we supposed to be talking about workers' comp and group insurance and unemployment right now? Because we're technically in like the human resources, personnel, and expenditures spot.
Oh, right. Yeah.
James, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, they can. They can talk about it.
Yeah, I think they can all be discussed. It's all part of the same department. And then when we get to the voting, it would just be.
And I do have a question.
Thank you, James. I had no idea. Councillor King.
No, my question is just looking at the insurance piece of it. It does seem like for the total, almost $22 million being requested for the insurance, it looks like the lion's share is the just $9.2 million for medical insurance for the city, and then the almost $12.5 million for the school's medical insurance. So in general, that's, to me, that's, I'm doing that math really fast, it's like just over 20 million, right? It's a lot. Would you say, in your estimation, that if the state of Massachusetts were to pass like a single-payer health care where that burden was lifted from, all individual companies and individuals and cities and things like that, would you say that the majority of that $20 million cost would go down to nothing, in your estimation?
I honestly don't know. I don't think I understand enough. You know what I mean? I don't know the answer to that, and I'm kind of sorry to say that, but I don't.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Not being a member of the committee, I just had a couple clarifying questions just to make sure that we get the numbers right. Page 394, there's a line item that's in the department request that's a credit, and then it's in the mayor's request it's not. It's the 5179 workers, the Maya premiums. It's the sixth item down, the discount for prepayment of premium. I just want to make sure, because those numbers, so we're going off of the department request in this case for what to approve. It's just, it's lower. I believe in the budget overview, it's the department request number that is the official number in there. I didn't save us $30,000. That would have been cool.
Yeah. So
but yeah.
the 555,224 is the full premium. And then is it a portion, right, the 388? The 388,657 is actually apportioned off to the school department?
You're on a different page than I am.
394,
No, you're not.
I thought you said.
I see. Yep.
Yep. And so, because the school, the school is the bigger side of the house, right? Like, they are 75% of our workers' compensation claims, whereas the city side is 25%. So there's the 388,000 is a portion to the schools, and then we also subtract out that early pay that we do, because we're so good at paying our bills on time, that we could take off the $15,239.
Just want to clarify, because under the mayor's version, it's adding that as a cost.
It should be a negative in both columns.
Okay, it should be a negative in both columns, so the final number is going to be that 296 that's approved if this group approves. And then I have the similar question on page 399.
I'm sorry, which page?
Oh, 399, 3 pages later. The city share of health insurance costs for employees and retirees, item number 5174. There's just a large discrepancy in these between the department request and the mayor, and I guess I'm wondering why that might be, and if that's...
So there's the fringe, do you see that? So we do subtract out the fringe. The number in the parenthesis is actually from like Mass Hire. Their health insurance flows through us, and so we are reimbursed the employer portion for that. That's why that's subtracted out, as well as any of the grants, like the CDBG and the grants. I'm just not sure about the two.
Which is great. I was more, that's actually excellent. I love when we can do that. It's the first number that, the 9.4 million and the 8.7. Just wondering the discrepancy between the mayor column and the department request column, and how that was able to come down $700,000. Something changed, or if...
I'm going to defer to you on this. I think we change out the school number, maybe?
So the correct number is in the department column here.
Is the department request column. So we're going off the department request column for both of these. So for both of the workers' comp and the health insurance will go off the department request. Is that correct?
Yes, that should be the case for anything in the book. Anything in the book, if we're looking at the department request column, those are the numbers, and then we'll have to work with the vendor to make sure that the numbers in the mayor column align.
But typically we would approve the mayor request over the department, but in this case, because of that, it's just somebody putting the wrong.
So I think typically the procedure is during the process, we make a change in the accounting system to start populating numbers from one column into the next, which we just didn't make that shift over midway. And this wasn't raised to me until about a week and a half ago, which at that point the budget book was sort of close to final. So all the numbers in the department column are the numbers that are being submitted. And then for the mayor column, we'll have to make sure that the vendor works to get all those reflected so that they're matching.
So the full number is that 21.9 million and not 20.2 for health insurance,
Correct.
city share, minus any grants and CP. Excellent, thank you. I apologize, I may have to go in just a moment, so you may see me run out. Thank you.
Councillor Jalapa.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of the committee, how many employees does the city of Salem have, roughly? Does 1,504 sound about right?
Oh, I think it's more than that.
Okay.
Did I put that number there somewhere?
That is what's in one of the pages that lists Salem top employers in the city of Salem. But the reason I'm asking is I thought I heard you mention before that the city insures 1,900.
Well, but, so that includes retirees, city retirees, all the retired teachers. And that, that is, I've got that number. We insure a lot of retirees.
Would you say that almost 25% of the people that we insure are retirees?
It was like 900, almost 500, close to 1,000, so probably even more than that.
More than that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Terrell.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I have a question about one of the items on page 388 under fraudulent claims. I'm happy to see them going down. It looks like there were 0 estimated in FY26. I just wanted some more clarification as to what those are and why they seem to be trending downward over the past few years, which is good, I think.
So, again, talking about our friend the pandemic, during the pandemic, we fielded probably over 200 fraudulent claims. One was filed in my name. I came back one day, I was at lunch, and I said, oh, watch, I bet there'll be a claim for me in the inbox. And sure enough, everybody was hacked. And it wasn't our data. I think people were afraid because we'd be calling them, right? We'd be calling, police officers, firefighters, our seasonal employees. The claims were being filed everywhere because hackers had just really had a field day with that. But so all of a sudden it stopped, like maybe a year, about 6 to 8 months after the pandemic, and then leveled off, and we didn't have any. And I think we've had maybe like 1 or 2. So it's just, I don't think it's gone forever. I just think it depends how sophisticated hackers are.
And are those workman's comp or unemployment or a combination or what?
So no, unemployment. Workers' comp we would know because they would get injured at work. It's typically the unemployment claims. And so what we have a practice, we will, when we get them, we clearly verify that the person is an employee or a former employee. But if we realize that it's fraudulent, we reach out to the employee, tell them, what to do, file a police report, contact the unemployment agency, and we walk them through it. But nothing like it was before. But yes, I had one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Any other questions from the council? Councillor Prosnewski.
I just want to say thank you, Lisa. We go back many, many years, and I know a lot of the councilors here are young and don't know everything that you do, but you probably wear more hats than any other department head in the city, and your skills and your expertise, the things that you have to juggle. I just want to say thank you. You represent the city well. You do us a lot of good. And
Well, you're very welcome.
I hope everybody will see that from now on, too.
Thank you. It is an honor.
All right, so we are on page 389 for the budget summary. Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the Human Resources personnel budget in the amount of $404,225.
Second.
Councillor King moves to approve the Human Resources personnel line item of $404,225, seconded by Councillor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands plus, including my own. The matter carries. Councillor King.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I motion to recommend approval of the Human Resources expenditures budget in the amount of $34,500.
Second.
Council King moves to approve the Human Resources Expenditures line item of $34,500, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. And for the public's knowledge, that is a department total of $438,725. So we're moving on now to workers' comp, which is on page 394. Lisa, is there anything you wanted to say before questions about this?
So, I mean, yes and no. I mean, we did talk briefly about it. We are with an insurance company, which is really helpful. We do have the 4 tail claims that we have where wages are still, that's why there's a line in the budget for workers' comp wages, because those are salaries we pay to those former employees who were injured prior to our joining Maya. And then every year, there's what's called a multiplier based on the year that the injury actually happened that is added in. So that goes up by a small percentage every year. You know, it's the premium. The premium is what it is. I hate that phrase, yet it's true. It's based on our claims history, right? They look at our claims for the last 3 years, and they look at our estimated payrolls so that they can determine a risk, you know, a rate per roll, right? So it costs more to insure someone who's out perhaps like working for the DPW or a tree climber than it does to insure, you know, admin and clerical type work. So our rates are based on our experience along with our payrolls. And then once a year, we're audited to make sure that whatever they based our premium on an estimated payroll, that our actual payroll for that year was accurate. And we actually found out this year, the good news is, I heard from our adjuster that our actual payrolls were less than the estimated, so we're actually getting some money back. Very happy about that. And that all has to do with risk codes and proper reporting, so it's definitely a collaborative effort.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council? Councilor King.
Point of clarification for James. I'm just looking at the summary page for workers' comp, and I'm seeing in the top chart that fiscal year 2027 department total is $335,317. And then on the lower chart, the department total looks to be $296,328, which I think is the variance on the top chart. So what's the right number?
You beat me through it. So the variance, that's the right number. The column headers are just off on that table, but the variance is what the FY27 number should be.
Okay, so the total amount being requested for fiscal year 2027 for workers' compensation is $296,328.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, Chair Davis. You mentioned training for workers' compensation. I'm wondering how complex this training can be. Is there different trainings for, one, just general employees, as opposed to maybe managers that have more of a responsibility to ensure for a safe working environment?
Oh, that's a good.
Or is it all just combined?
So a couple of things. We did do a training. We did it this last November. We recorded it for all department heads on, like, the life of a claim, what happens whether an employee gets a paper cut, which we still have to report because that could turn into a major infection, we've learned the hard way, or, you know, whether or not there's actually an accident, that kind of thing out in the field. And so what to do, the claim needs to be filled out, we need to get it into the system, Maya needs to start tracking it, that sort of thing, because they assign a case manager, they'll call the person right away, they'll call witnesses. And so that was a training we did with all, staff that would actually interact with the employees who get hurt. As far as risk management and out in the field, so Maya is actually really good with that. That's how we actually get a lot of our rewards, by sending employees for this type of training. They'll do toolbox talks, chainsaw training, office ergonomics, safe trench digging, that sort of thing. So those we also take advantage of as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councilor King.
Thank you. All right, I move to recommend approval of the workers' compensation personnel budget in the amount of $296,328.
Second.
Councilor King moves to approve the Human Resources Workers Compensation Personnel line item of $296,328, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. Okay. Then we move on to page 396 for unemployment.
What?
Anything you'd like to share on unemployment?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's another number. It is a number. We're self-insured for unemployment, right? So a lot of private businesses pay into what's called a solvency fund, and so they never really know if their employees or their former employees apply for unemployment. We do actually. We're self-funded for it, which means we see every claim that comes in, like we were talking earlier about the fraudulent claims. So if a former employee is determined eligible for unemployment, you know, it comes right out of our budget. So the state pays it, we reimburse. We're called reimbursable. We reimburse the state. The interesting thing is, unemployment used to be 26 weeks, but last April, and it's April of 25, but it's still in effect, unemployment now can last 30 weeks. When the unemployment rate hits a certain number in one of like 7 statistical areas or whatever, however they manage it, we're now on the hook. I call it on the hook because we're paying for it for over 30 weeks. So we really try to be vigilant if somebody is unfortunately discharged for cause, or if we see a claim that, you know, is meritless, we definitely try to protest it because, you know, like I said, the maximum benefit, if somebody is, you know, is let go, for example, who has a high salary, the maximum benefit is $1,105 a week. And I mean, over 30 weeks, that's a lot of money that we're just paying. So the person is gone, and now we're also paying for their unemployment. So we try to keep an eye on that.
And for clarity, this is the same situation. We've got the correct department request would be 250,000.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is up from last year because I just felt it was necessary.
Councilor Turowski.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I assume that the increase in the unemployment term coverage was partly responsible, at least, for that increase. Is that the only factor that impacted the increase, or were there other factors at play as well?
Well, plus, I mean, where the maximum benefit is up higher now, too. The maximum benefit is up, I mean, it's like $54 more a week than last year, but that will still add up. So I just kind of wanted to protect us from asking for a supplemental, which we still might have to do this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Councilor King.
Thank you. I motion to recommend approval of the unemployment compensation personnel budget in the amount of $250,000.
Second.
Councilor King motions to approve the Human Resources Unemployment Compensation Personnel line item of $250,000, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. Okay, then we have group insurance on page 399. Anything to share there?
I think we covered most of that, right? So I will just say that we're in our second and final year of a 2-year contract with the Group Insurance Commission, which we've been with since 2012. And as I said, I just put in for our utilization to see what that looks like. We'll review that with our consultant when we get it, and we'll decide what we want to do moving forward.
All right, and any questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, Councilor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I motion to recommend approval of the employee insurance benefits personnel budget in the amount of $21,914,161.
Second.
James, is that the correct number? I see that as the variance.
Yep, that's the
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Councilor King motions to approve the employee insurance benefit personnel line item of $20,914,161, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries.
Thank you.
I believe that was all. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Lisa.
everyone. Thanks. Who's next?
Next, we have IT GIS. That will be on tab 9. We've got a budget summary on page 368.
We're all set.
All right, I will let John take it away.
All right, good evening. I'm John Akewitz, Director of Technology Innovation. I have a team of 9 right now with 1 position open, and my department is split up into 3 different areas. First one is our service support for helping staff in their day-to-day, any computer issues or whatnot, we give them a call. Then our applications team, which supports our Munis our Munis system that is also carried over into the school system. Any historical document digitization is covered underneath there, and any permitting systems if you need a building permit, they manage the workflow. Then our network team, which is responsible for the city and the school's network infrastructure, along with our cybersecurity and our telephone systems, to manage that. I mean, my main goals this year, really taking a step back and seeing how we can save the money. Like you'll see on my sheet, there are a lot of zeros to requests this year. I think that was from having ARPA funds in the past years, and then finally those years ended, and we're now getting hit with the bills. So, I requested the funds so we can cover them, and hopefully we can dial them back for next year's. But unfortunately, I can't promise that, but I'll do my best to. So.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council? Councilor King.
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify, because usually when I think of IT, I don't think of IT necessarily running the website. But I see here in your performance measures that you have you're considering website visits and sessions in your key metrics. Does your team manage the website's functionality and things?
So each department has like a webmaster, I guess we could call it, where they would update the page. So if there's staffing change or anything within the page, if they want to update the description, that would go through the department's webmaster. I guess I can't think of a proper term for it, so I'm sorry about that. But but for the overall, making sure it's working with Civic Plus, that does run through us.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. How would you say, I know the Civic Plus website's relatively new. How would you, it's like in the last year or 2, how would you say it's working so far?
Well, it's an upgrade from, so we just did Civic Plus upgraded to their new platform, so it is much better than what we were dealing with in the prior years. But with all new things come new problems, so we have been dealing with the emails with people trying to find stuff, things miscategorized, but we're working through it and making sure it gets clean so it's easy to use.
Okay, great. And my understanding is that Civic Plus is kind of the main website tool that's used in the state of Massachusetts, right? Are there other ones that people ever consider?
They're, I think, like the main government one that you could say, not just for Massachusetts. You could go in any state and you might see a Civic Plus website. It's a municipality one. We didn't have the chance, we decided not to spread out. We had a good relationship with them, but we kind of just stayed what they know. We know with them. They gave us a good presentation. We went with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Lapa.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Davis, not being a member of the committee. So the new website has been exciting. It's definitely an improvement. One thing that I've noticed, myself navigating it, and I've heard from some residents, is that there are, I think during the changeover, a number of links that were broken. And so like when you go to a link that doesn't exist anymore, you get fed a page that says this doesn't exist anymore. Do you have any metrics on how many of those that page is getting hit? And is there any way that you can think of that your department could work with the rest of the department heads to try to either fix those or at least alert them that that's a thing. Like there are things that are on PDFs from 4 years ago that are still active documents, that this is the policy on how to do X, Y, and Z. You click on the link and it doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah, I believe in the beginning when we started this, we did task some department or the departments to go through and make sure that everything that is posted works. But we're looking at over, a few thousand pages that they'd have to click on, whether it be PDFs or, just even Word documents might load up. So yeah, we don't really have a structure as to do. It's just, you find an issue, you notify IT. Hopefully the public, if they notice something, they can bring it up to that department and then they can submit a ticket saying this doesn't work. And then we can find where the document actually lives, because sometimes it's just a broken URL. They all changed from one to the other on the flip. And so, yeah, that's ultimately what it ends up being, thankfully, for majority.
Great. So just so my understanding, that the recommendation that we would give to residents would be either reach out to me, and I can reach out to the department head or the department head directly to inform them of, and then there's a process that can be done to fix those, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if they reach out to you directly, you can also come, you can bypass the department, but it would be good to know what site, what link they clicked on. More information, the easier, the quicker it would be to fix an issue,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor King and then Councillor Tarowski.
Thanks. Sorry, I have another question. I think you might have addressed this at a very high level in your overview, but for the increase in fixed, it's in the fixed cost section, the increase in phone and communication cost.
Yes.
Looks like that budget item went up by about 183%. Could you just speak a little bit more to that?
So we are transferring over from having a Cisco-based call manager system for our phone system to a Zoom phone platform that will, it is cloud-based, so it is going to have that price increase. The other phone was you buy the equipment, it was all in-house. So we're dealing with the cloud version for the increase. This does include elevated licenses for the city staff, so they can answer phones on soft phones. So again, going to I know you had the question, or when you had the question for the remote access or remote work, this will allow you to answer your phone, on your computer, essentially. So wherever you go, if it's installed. So, and this does cover the city and the school phones. So the teachers will have their phones, so they won't have to deal with any dead zones, their cell phones being in a dead spot at the Bentley School, which is known to have dead space for cell service. The computer has a network connection, they're going to get a phone call no matter what, but they'll also have a normal desk phone, so the user's choice type of deal.
So it sounds like the increase in cost is corresponding with a pretty significant increase in usability of the system.
It is, yes.
All right, that's great. That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Sidoriak.
Thank you, Chair Davis, and thank you for the presentation. For the cybersecurity piece, do you think we have a strong enough posture with the third party that we're working with? And are we having third-party audits to ensure that we are, we're at the edge of technology, of being able to handle any threats?
Yes, so with our cybersecurity program, we are going through our Arctic Wolf networks at the moment. We are exploring other options at this time, possibly MS-ISAC. But right now, our main goals are to make sure we have DNS clearance, so they're scouring the dark web, any packet sniffing for any, any attachments coming in and out of the city to make sure they're clean, and also cyber awareness trainings, sending us fake phishing emails. I get reports as to who clicks them, and trainings just in general, just, keep us, in my seat, I've been in it, so I know it's common sense for certain things, but, not everybody thinks that way, and having this training is really good because it kind of puts us on the edge, and that's honestly the best way to stay safe is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Be proactive.
Yeah, be proactive. And again, I don't mind any emails. If somebody sends you an email or whatnot, and you're like, I don't know if this is legit or not, feel free to reach out to us. We're always here to answer your emails. Yeah.
And do we have any sort of, I guess, secondary defensive capabilities in the sense that if someone was able to lock down the IT network, that things are backed up and we can just scrap that and go with the backup?
Yeah, so we do have redundant connections, so off-site of the building that they are on, that they're housed at, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, we have off-site from where we are, and we do have the ability to lock out a bad actor computer. So if something gets compromised, we can lock that computer away from off the network, so nothing's getting on or off of it.
Great. And my final question is with software licensing, what is the process for that? Is it shared all across the departments? Do we try to make sure that there's no duplication of any of this so that we're not paying for more than one license unless it's necessary?
So there are certain licenses, all the Microsoft 365 licenses do come out of the IT budget. We do for the Adobe licenses, we give each department one that would come out of my budget. If any department requests two or more, that would come from their department. So yeah, there are some shared licenses. I believe we have a shared license with Mass Hire, if I'm correct, that for our Munis technology, so they can use the Tyler Tech for that. And
So where we can share, we're trying to share that so we can mitigate.
yes, yeah, but I've never seen a duplicate license. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend approval of the IT General Administrative Personnel budget in the amount of $848,289.
Second.
Councillor King moves to approve the IT General Admin Personnel line item of $848,289, seconded by Councillor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see four hands, including my own. The matter carries. Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend approval of the IT General Admin expenditures budget in the amount of $12,500.
Second.
Councillor King moves to approve the IT General Admin expenditures, a budget of $12,500, seconded by Councillor Sidoriak. All those in favor? Let the record show I see four hands, including my own. The matter carries. Next, we will move on to the...
Fixed costs.
Thank you. The IT fixed cost. That is on page 373.
Might be on the wrong page.
Or the budget summary is on that page. Is there anything you would like to add in terms of the fixed cost, John?
I am on the wrong page, so sorry.
No worries.
373, is there anything extra? Oh, so that's the... no, nothing, yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay, any questions from the council? Councillor King?
I'm just curious. I'm just curious about the GIS software that we pay for. I'm just curious, in your estimation, like how many departments are using that for, like which departments are really heavily using that software, and then also how much of that, I imagine, is any of that data publicly facing also, or is it just for internal use?
So actually funny that you brought that up for the public facing. So I believe, well, let's answer first question. So housing is, or I should say the assessors is using it for their tax. Engineering is definitely really heavy on that users, and the traffic and planning do have a user for Esri. I don't know 100% sure. I think a couple of others in the planning might have license or access to it. So yeah, that's the use that we're getting from that. To go to the public, we just partnered with, we just worked with CAI Studies. I can't remember their full name off the top of my head, but they are going to take the map data from ArcGIS, take the data from our Patriot software that we use for the assessors, so we can make, expand on the maps for the public. So they would be able to take a section of Canal Street, say they're doing work, or I guess Margin Street that they're doing. You'd be able to draw a line on Margin Street saying this road work's going to be here, and then, click on and go into finer detail as to how's it work happening. Yeah.
I know I get a lot of constituent requests where people want to know like what work is being done on a street, or like what's going on with that property, whatever. So that's really cool.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, Councilor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I motion, let me make sure I'm doing this right. I motion to recommend approval of the IT fixed costs personnel budget in the amount of $1,196,000.
Second.
Mayor.
Right, so this looks like the table is printed twice, one for personnel, one for expenditures. There's only one, it's just the expenditure. So the total is IT fixed cost expenditures of 1.1.
All right, I retract my motion. Thank you, Mayor. I retract my prior motion. I am going to motion, that was what I was checking. It's good you said this. It's like, I'm confused. I move to approve the budget for the IT fixed cost expenditures in the amount of $1,196,000.
Second.
Councilor King moves for approval of the IT fixed cost expenditures budget item in the amount of $1,196,000, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. So next we will go to the capital improvement plan for IT. For this we will go to the red tab. This is section 7, and we will be flipping to page 244. John, would you like to make any comments regarding the capital improvement plan?
No, so yeah, we just have, you can see the CLC, the great room upgrades. When that was first established, it was really set up as a theater. And now with having expanded public meetings and whatnot, it didn't really work for that because we'd have a lot of echoes if anybody were trying to work Zoom meetings and whatnot. So this improvement will allow us to have remote public sessions in there, noise canceling microphones that would eliminate any echoing, and just general upgrades to like the projector and the projector screen so they're actually visible when that sun's glaring through the big window in that room. Yeah, and digitization, that's out there for, if, we go through a box, we find some items we missed that need to, any historical documents that need to get digitized. And or just, life cycle management. I think that one explains it. If, switch server, anything gets old, we just have some money to upgrade it, and you get ready to say something.
I would just add on the life cycle management for this year. That also includes, I believe it's $9,600 for the clerk's office for the new poll pads.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Councilor Jalapa.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of this committee, I was wondering if you could speak to what happens to the equipment that we were using as part of our infrastructure that gets upgraded as an end of life. Does it get sold? Does it get donated? Where does that go?
So we have an e-waste vendor that comes through and collects it. I can't honestly give you an answer what they do with it. After that, the hard drives are destroyed by my team. it's hard for me to trust people. So yeah, I'd rather us put a hammer through it than rely on a third-party vendor.
Appreciate that, and I'd love to put a nail through it. I am curious, so we have, server-grade infrastructure that's effectively just getting thrown away or donating? Because some of that on the used market can be fairly valuable.
We've tried reaching out, like this phone upgrade system that we're doing is going to replace all the desk phones we have throughout the city and schools. We've reached out to some vendors to see if they would do a buyback or anything. Unfortunately, technology moves too quick for buybacks to really work. Everybody wants the latest and greatest, how it is. So yeah, we've been denied on that. As far as the phones go, and then just technology, laptops, desktops, we don't really have a cycle, so they tend to last longer than they're really supposed to. I mean, some might say a 4-year cycle is where it should be. We tend to try to make it go until the person just can't work anymore, in a way. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? All right, thank you very much, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we have next up the library. This is going to be in tab 24 with a budget summary on 602. And we'll let Tara take it away.
Good evening. My name is Tara Mansfield. I'm excited to answer the question is, what does the library do? The library is a place where you can get books, movies, and music. It's a place for research, a place to access technology and get free technology assistance. It's a place to ask questions, a place for programs and gathering. It's a place for tourists to stop along the way, and most importantly, it's just a safe space for people to just be. The library is open 7 days a week for a total of 68 hours. We have a wonderful staff of 16 full-time employees and 25 part-time employees, so it does take a whole bunch of people to run all of our services. So let's see, our goals for next year always center around improving our services. We're constantly evaluating what's being used and what isn't and making the best choices we can. Our other goals are around supporting our community because we never know who's going to be using the library and for what purpose. So we are always working on creating more social supports and making sure that people are being connected with resources. And we're also going to establish regular adult program to help foster connections between community members. And jumping into the numbers, our personnel lines include step increases for our Salem Library Staff Association union, as well as an AFSCME increase for our custodian and non-union increases. And our new contract for the Salem Library Staff Association includes some stipends and longevity, which is new for us this year. And then for operations, we have just requested cost-related increases, and our materials line is required to be 13% of our budget, so that line has been increased to match and meet the requirements of the state.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Tara. Any questions from the council? Councilor King.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I am just curious to learn a little bit more. You have in your goals to create more partnerships and support vulnerable library users. Can you talk a little bit more about that plan?
Sure. So one of the, I think, functions of the library is unofficially almost like a shelter. So we do see our most vulnerable community members using the library for what we sometimes consider non-traditional uses, like sometimes just warmth or cooling, or just so that they don't have to be in the elements. A lot of times it's charging devices. Sometimes it's to access something simple like warm water so that they can make their cup of soup. So there is just so many different ways that we're seeing the library being used, and we're trying to rise to the occasion to help people and connect them with the resources, which is challenging because they're really, in my opinion, doesn't seem to be enough. Yeah.
President Merkel.
Thank you, Chair Davis, not being a member committee. I just also want to just make a comment on how appreciative I see the community for all your efforts for your programming, because you send them to me and we push them out in all our newsletters, and I've done the adult programming at the library, and it's just, I just want to stress the role that you play in equity, in equitable practices is huge. You know, I know a lot of people that depend on being able to use the computers and get online, and everything you just touched upon in what you said. I just want to recognize how impactful it is from my involvement in our community, also with our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Councillor Jalapa.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Not being a member of the committee, I just want to say thank you for doing that, for the dealing with our most vulnerable population. I'm curious, are there any negative externalities that you or your staff experience in dealing with that you've had to either had special equipment or training or precautions that you have to take?
So just as a standard thing for all people we deal with, our staff has de-escalation training. You know, the library is a safe space, but it's also a space where people feel safe behaving sometimes inappropriately. So we are trained for those things. But I think there is just a little bit of a toll when you're seeing people who have needs that you can't meet. And we haven't figured out how to, you know, we just try to work together and come up with better ideas with the resources we have. But no, I'm sorry, I don't have a magic answer for that one.
That's great, thank you. I was in particular, I'm wondering if there are, this will be interesting. I'll be blunt because I'm asking about sharps, and if there are those types of waste that your staff has to accommodate and deal with.
Yes. So most recently, we saw a big shift in usage when the day shelter Lifebridge changed its hours. So we immediately we were finding sharps regularly. We have a partnership with Healthy Streets from Lynn, so they gave us sharps containers and things like that. We're all Narcan trained. But we've been lucky. There haven't been any incidents, but we do find the sharps and call the police to collect them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for answering that question. And Mayor Pangallo, I think some of the other city departments could probably learn a thing or two from this, because if the library can figure this out, I think other departments can figure this out. Thank you.
Councillor King.
Thank you. I have to compliment you. The early childhood programming that you guys do is absolutely incredible. I have seen literally like videos online of the toddler raves you guys do. They're so popular. It's awesome. I love it. I know you do some teen programming. I've definitely gotten feedback from teens that they're looking for like more. I'm curious, you know, what is it a staff limitation? Like how can we help with that? Like how can we get more teen programming? Should we be finding, I'm sure there'd be volunteers out there. Like I'm just curious what unlocks more teen programming for your department?
That's an excellent question. I think teens are honestly the most difficult to reach. So they love fun things. We often, usually once a quarter, we do an after-hours event just for teens. So they can come at 4:45. We close at 5. And then they get to stay after closing and explore the building. Sometimes they play like tag. They do crafts, have pizza. And that's a big deal. But again, we're seeing the younger teens for that. Basically, for the older teens, the only library usage we're seeing is with we have amazing public computers. State of the art, they can run amazing I'm not, not a gamer, I'm sorry, but games. So that's really where we're seeing the usage right now. But during the summer, we do a weekly teen night on Tuesday nights. So there'll be a lot of crafts and challenges and fun things coming up soon. But most of the demand that we're seeing from teens in Salem is that they need those community service hours. So we've created an actual drop-in programs where they can complete these hours because it is honestly overwhelming. I think each school has different requirements. So we focus a lot of efforts on that as well, just because these kids are desperate. They need to graduate.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's really helpful. Thanks.
Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, Chair Davis, and thank you for your presentation and all the work that you do. Knowing that a lot of our media is becoming more digitized, is there any cost to that, especially with licensing and the inflation that might come with it, and how is that increasing over the years?
So I think one of the most frustrating things about being a library these days is that the publishers seem to feel like libraries are taking advantage of them, which is not the case. So they have changed like the way your ownership, like you may notice in even our metrics that the number of titles, volumes that we own decreased dramatically because we're no longer allowed to count the ebooks that we buy as something we own because some of them we can only own for 26 checkouts, some of them we only own for 12 months, some of them they just kind of can make up any rule, and we are just forced to abide by that. And they also sometimes triple or quadruple the price that an individual would pay for one title, one person at a time use. So it is an ongoing struggle. Even no matter, it's not something we've figured out how to solve. I know there's some legislation on the state level that's hopefully going to help, but it is a very disempowering feeling to know that, I have to pay $80 for an ebook that you could get for $12, and then I can't even have it for a whole year.
Yeah, that's good to know, and I'd be curious to look into that legislation. And so many libraries across the country over the last decade, understanding just how things have evolved in society, are now trying to redefine themselves, and in particular be more like a makerspace or something that contributes to society, maybe helps people learn what it means to be part of the future of work, rather than this is a place where there's just books and you can read. How much of that transition is our library moving towards that?
So I will say our physical space is a remarkable challenge for us. We just don't have any extra space. We don't even really have a defined young adult area. It's just kind of 2 chairs on the mezzanine level. So that is something we haven't been able to kind of meet the challenge with like 3D printers and those types of things. We have tried to substitute by outreach and just kind of meeting people where they are, sharing most of the things that people don't know about the library and what they can do with their cards and things like that. But a lot of people don't realize how many, free trainings you can do online just from resources that we buy and things like that. But no, unfortunately, until we get that next level, we're a little stuck in our space.
It looks like you do a lot with little, so thank you for that, and thank you, Chair.
Yeah, just a big thank you from me as well for the focus on vulnerable communities. I mean, I think Wi-Fi, public computers, printing in particular is just so critical. I'm curious if there's, and I don't know what kind of line item this would be under, but just getting the word out. I think about this with a lot of our departments. I don't know if there's money in your department or just, that's something the city offers departments in general of just, I guess, marketing, PR. We offer so many amazing programs for folks, and I don't know if people would know about that. Of course, we as counselors want to get the word out as much as possible. Of course, with that in particular, a newsletter, wouldn't do the trick for folks without internet access. Is there anything like that?
So we don't have anything in terms of print marketing besides what we distribute just in our flyers, but we do have newsletters, digital newsletters, and we're now able to be part of the employee newsletter, which has been fun. We're seeing more city employees at our events, like the plant swap over the weekend. And we do appreciate so much everyone helping us spread the word, because that's the key.
Councilor King?
I will just say I have run into the library tabling at many community events, and they have the best stickers and pins of any department in the city. I just want to put that out there. They're great. So the tabling's been really good. I've seen you guys at like Council on Aging events and like the volunteer fair, like random places that I'm not seeing any other department, but you've got a table there, and I think that's been really good to hand out resources there. So thank you for doing that.
All right, any other questions from the council? All right, so for the library, we are going to, budget summary is on the page 602. Councilor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the library personnel budget in the amount of $1,390,657.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor King to approve the library personnel budget in the amount of $1,390,657, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? All right, I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Councilor King?
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the library expenditures budget in the amount of $454,908.
Second.
Councilor King motions to approve the library expenditures line item budget in the amount of $454,908, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. All right, then we will go to the capital improvement plan. Again, that's in the red tab, section 7, and we will go to page 245. Is there anything you'd like to speak to on the capital improvement plan?
We are still on our ongoing quest to make our building ADA accessible, so we do request that every year. Our building was last renovated in 1989, so there is quite a punch list of to-do. And then we are requesting our small repairs. As usual, most of this money will go towards repairing our HVAC system, which is in a constant state of needing attention. And then we have also asked for some money for furniture upgrades, especially on the main floor and reference. We are trying to make our spaces a little more person-centered because sometimes it does feel like shelving is taking the priority. So we'd like to try to reconfigure those spaces and make them more useful.
Any questions from the council? All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Tara.
Thank you.
All right, we will come back around out of order, back to the mayor's department. This is on tab 1 with a budget summary on page 277.
All right. Good evening, councilors. So first, I apologize. I am getting over a cold, so I'm going to do my best to get through this. I'm not getting weepy because of the budget. It's allergies, I swear. So I want to start by thanking James and the finance department, but especially James. This is his first budget as our finance director, and it is a mammoth undertaking. I think we're really proud in Salem that we have a budget that is as detailed as we provide, not just on the money aspects of it, but also the narrative, the performance indicators, the background on all the funds, information about the capital projects. You know, we have consistently received recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association because of the level of transparency in our budget. And I just want to thank James and the finance team for continuing that legacy forward this year. From a larger kind of zooming out from a larger scale, we talked about this at the budget retreat, and I think you've probably seen this reflected in the overall budget recap and what's been presented to you this year for FY27. But we're fortunate that we have a very strong bond rating still. We're fortunate that we have the excess levy capacity that other communities that do not have that are struggling with right now, with those sizable increases in fixed costs related to things like health insurance and pensions. And we're fortunate to be able to diversify our revenue stream to a certain extent as a community that has an active, vibrant downtown and business sector. But all that being said, we're still under the constraints of Proposition 2.5 and the limitations imposed by state law when it comes to our ability to diversify our revenue. So to really be clear, we're not talking about trying to make lots more money for the city. We're talking about trying to rely on property taxes less, because it is the most regressive form of taxation. This budget really is tried to take a mindful approach to limiting discretionary increases. About $5 million of our budget increase this year is related to fixed costs, both in the schools and across the city's departments. And the balance of the rest of the budget increase is predominantly in people. It's predominantly in our collective bargaining agreements and our compensation to employees. As Lisa Camerata mentioned, we do not have a lot of vacancies, and we're in a position now where we're attracting some really good applications and interest in our positions when they do become vacant, because we are a good place to work and we treat people fairly. So all of that being said, we've tried to be mindful in talking with department heads about maintaining a budget that is as responsible as possible, not taking on major new initiatives this year, focusing on the core responsibilities of delivering services transparently, effectively, being willing to innovate, looking at new things. We do have a couple positions that have moved from grants onto the regular budget, but overall in a workforce of 1,500 or whatever the specific number may be, not really looking to add substantially to the number of people working for the city, understanding that that means that the people who are with us are being asked to take on a lot more as things just get busier and busier. I want to get into the mayor's office budget specifically, and happy to start taking your questions about that or about the budget in general, recognizing that some of the departmental questions are best left for the departments when they come in. I feel really fortunate to have, I think our city is fortunate to have a strong team in the mayor's office. There's 8 employees, 9 including myself. They work incredibly hard across a variety of subject areas: constituent services, housing, special projects and events, celebrating Salem 400, and my chief of staff, Lisa Peterson, of course, quarterbacks them all. One of the 2 positions that I mentioned that is changing this year from a grant to a regular budget is the director of what has been called the Salem Children's Alliance, and we're retitling to the Director of Youth Services. That position for the last couple of years has been funded by a CPPI grant from the state, and that grant, the grant conditions are changing so that we cannot apply it to the salary, so we're moving that position onto the regular budget. We've handed out a replacement page for number 278. Unlike the correction for the legal department, the bottom line salary personnel number here does not change, but we do want to reflect a correction in that the Children's Alliance position, or the Director of Youth Services, will have some funding support from a grant that we've received. It says Mass Hire Grant. It's actually from the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce, related to a lot of the work that Sarah's doing on teen employment. The City of Salem and the City of Lynn are sharing a grant to place youth in job opportunities over the summer. There's funding support for staff related to that, so some of that is offsetting her position. And then there was also, if you look at page 278 in the budget book that was printed, there was a correction to the mayor's salary. Generously applied an extra 3% COLA to me, but that salary is set by ordinance, and so it does not change year to year until the council takes it up every 4 years. And then the position of the special events manager had an error in it. It was not the cell didn't have a formula in it. It was typed in I believe when the position moved over a few years ago from the engineering department to the mayor's office. The formula wasn't put into the spreadsheet. It was just typed in, and so it did not reflect the COLA adjustment that should have been made. Overall, the total number is actually unchanged, but we want you to have a clear picture of everybody's compensations in the department. I'm not going to read through the list of what the department's been up to and the team. I think this past year, many of you have worked with Lori Stewart around the housing stability work that she's doing. She's busier than ever, and I think she's taken on, in addition to the casework responsibilities, a lot of focus on policy development as well, whether it's leadership around eviction ceiling or the condo conversion ordinance. We've been really, I think, fortunate to have her in that role, and that was a position that had been initially funded through COVID relief funds. And in last year's budget, we started to move it off over to the general fund budget. Julio and Michael doing constituent services work and special projects, really, I think, demonstrating really innovative ideas. They conduct Wednesday walks where they go door to door to talk with businesses, talk with residents. They engage in City Hall to Go in the mobile mayor's office. The employee newsletter that Tara mentioned is published by Michael. And so a lot of engagement around trying to outreach proactively to people in addition to supporting people when they come into the office or if they call the 311 number. Sabrina Trask, the office director, really manages the day-to-day. She's been doing phenomenal work for us, but also frontline constituent services in very many respects. She's the first person that people see when they come to the office, and she really exemplifies a professionalism that I think conveys the spirit of what we hope people experience when they reach out to the mayor's office. Jeremy Fisk is just, really hit it out of the park, managing the 4th of July, haunted happenings, working with Jenny Churl and the Salem 400 coordination. I think that the two of them are a dynamic duo. We've had a great quadricentennial to this point. We're halfway through the year almost. And every year October throws new challenges at us. I know you've had a recent meeting about that, but we feel really fortunate to have Jeremy, running point on that really significant event for us to be able to welcome 3.5 million tourists to our city every year is no small feat, and it's an effort that crosses multiple departments. It's not just Jeremy, of course, but he's the glue that really holds it together in so many ways. I talked about Sarah and her work around the youth employment, but I think she's also been really strong in leading around mental health support. So she's established a youth mental health task force, coordinating with providers across the community to share information, share access to resources, going into schools, going to youth groups. She staffs the Youth Commission, which has been actively engaged in volunteer opportunities, leadership programs, and also providing guidance and feedback to the city on policy development. And then Lisa. Lisa is just, I think, a phenomenal leader for the team. Really grateful to have you there. And I think it is unfortunate for Lisa that I previously had her job. So I've been trying to very, very intentionally step back and let her make the role her own, and I think fill in where we need the most supports, and she's stepped up for that in so many ways, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I think that covers the whole team. Did I leave anyone out?
That's a good question. I think that's everyone, yes. Yep.
So, that being said, I'm happy to take your questions to talk about any of the specific work that we've achieved over the past year. The goal setting for the mayor's office is a little different than goal setting for departments generally, because our goals are to effectively help run the city. But we do have specific performance measures that we've been tracking over the years since the Driscoll administration, and some have been added since then. I'm happy to talk about any of those. And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add anything about the team or about what's been up to.
Sure. I can go into for a minute the question about goal setting in general for employees across the city. That's a new program that we developed this year, and it is very much, Councillor Jalapa, in line with what you were hoping for. It's in its infancy still, I would say. You know, we've just completed the first year of trying to do that, but I think it's been really meaningful for those employees who have participated in it, and it is, exactly to your point, a great opportunity for people to really dig in and think about how to optimize their role, how to grow as an employee, and just in their professional skills across the board. So that's been nice, and we're always going to be, I think, looking to improve that program going forward. And I think I just want to say that I'm also very proud of our team. I think everybody's worked incredibly hard over this past year, and I think more than ever, the city in general is kind of the front lines, especially as we've lost more and more support from the federal government. We're really out there, trying to support the community really in a very deeper and wider way as time goes on, it seems. And so, yeah, everything from the housing support and supporting youth, and it's been, as tough as it is sometimes with some of that, it's also such an exciting year with the 400 plus commemorations and celebrations this year. So we've been balancing all of that together. So, yeah, happy to answer any questions about and all of the stuff that we do.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for Lisa. I think I saw Councilor Tarowski first.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I was curious, when you're looking at your performance metrics, when you say constituent contacts, what method are you tracking as included in constituent contacts? Is that email only, or are there other modes included as well?
So I just want to find where you're talking
it's
about.
275.
275 right at the top. Okay, yes. So that is comprehensive. So that's phone calls in, visits, emails. We track all of that, and that's largely captured through, it's probably honestly not even fully comprehensive because it's captured by our frontline constituent service team, and which is, as the mayor mentioned, Julio Mota, Michael Corley, and then also Sabrina Trask, and then that also in many ways also captures what Lori Stewart is doing. But any of the other constituent services work that we're doing on our team isn't even necessarily captured there, and I know there's a lot in addition to that.
Thank you. I was just curious how people reach you and how you respond to that. So thank you for that information. I also had a question looking a few lines down at the Code Red registered phone numbers. In 2024, we have a drop from about 40,000 to 13. Is that associated with the data breach that we discussed as something that went wrong with that system, or was there another cause for that?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with Code Red, as I'm sure you know, and I'll start by saying that we've been in the process of exploring other providers to that end, and I can say I think we're close to being able to announce a new option, so excited about that, but yeah, I think, I'm trying to remember exactly what that drop-off applies to. Yeah, I think it wasn't like, if you're asking specifically if it was related to the data breach, it wasn't like a big attack or a wipe of, like numbers in there. It wasn't like that. But I think, yeah, I'm not 100% sure exactly what that drop-off was due to.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, Chair Davis, not being a member of committee. Yes, you highlighted some of the things I was going to highlight as well. I wanted to make more of a comment that when we read about the municipalities surrounding us and how the cuts have been painful to the people that need services the most. And I appreciate that we have worked, and you have worked, your administration, to keep in place what really serves our community. And what I want to highlight that I've seen in the difference in the last couple of years with your team being more accessible and their municipal government being more accessible, and I have seen more people involved because of it. Like you said, the City Hall to go, I see you everywhere, whether it's Espacio or a school or the Community Life Center. The Walking Wednesdays, in case people don't know, that's where your team is just literally going door to door, getting the word out, what services, hearing their concerns. Also, the events we've had, but they're enhanced, like the enhancements to events, they're really made even more impactful and special, like look at, Juneteenth and all the events. Your podcasts, that kind of helps people, get to know different positions and different roles that people have in the government and makes it personal. And I also feel the way you've pushed out the information that more people know about our food resources. I remember I'd mention Mac Park and nobody would know what that is. And also too, I know, the Housing Stability Coordinator, it's very hard when something is grant funded when everything is getting more and more expensive to roll that into, the budget. So I just feel we've kept our priorities. And also, with the work I do, the numbers don't even tell the whole story. And I'll just give one example for the Housing Stability Coordinator. Not only do you have, you can flag how many calls and assistance there's been, but I also know with the volunteer work that I do, the training and help she has done to teach those doing work in this space. Like teaching them, this is how you do, a raft application. This is what's available. So it's, it's building a web, of knowledge and assistance to the people doing the work in this space, if that makes sense, as opposed to just helping that people find their way to her. So yeah, I really wanted to highlight that. And as financial pressures don't get easier, that I really embrace seeing that moving forward. Yeah, and I've seen the effect of it.
Thank you.
Councillor Jalapa, then Councillor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Still not a member of this committee. Quick high-level question about the budget. Do we have a notion of how we can quantify the impact of inflation over the last year? Ideally, like an average as a percentage or something like that.
Were there specific areas that you had in mind, or just across the board?
Across the board.
I think there are certain areas that are more easily highlightable than others. When we talk about the budget, I think the mayor mentioned the majority of it is, when we get out of the fixed costs, which certainly there's inflation that we could parse out in those areas. Once we get beyond that, it's personnel costs. And so it's hard to, I wouldn't necessarily categorize that as inflationary. But there are certain areas when you dive into specific places like at public services and, other areas where there's contracted services lines that we've seen increases that are definitely related to inflation and other sort of world events and things like that.
And so I'd imagine, and I'm not picking anything specific, but I'd imagine there's a number of line items in this budget that have increased expenses by 1% to 2%, which is actually, in terms of buying power, probably a decrease.
Oh, certainly. There are definitely areas where the increases have been, higher and definitely are outpacing that.
Yeah. Thank you. So that was my one question. And then I have a comment, I suppose. We were speaking about policy making, and I guess a request from my side as one of the members of the council. I think there are some of us here that would appreciate being involved in that, maybe more than the council has been in the past, at the discretion of the mayor. And I think we've seen in the council and in committee this past few months so far some really great presentations from department heads and from other individuals at the city, really advocating for some policies and some changes, which has been really nice. But it doesn't happen all the time. And I think that would be something that would be very valuable. There's certainly an opportunity for all the counselors to reach out to the department heads and sort of speak with that. But I think having those presentations and having the advocacy sitting here in the chambers when those are being voted on is really great for the public to see. And then there have been times where I've been sitting here and another counselor asked a question, and suddenly I have a question that I didn't think to ask ahead of time, and then sometimes there's nobody to ask that to. So, small request. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Kane.
Thank you. I have a bunch of questions. I'll start with just thank you, the goals thing. I will double retweet whatever. That I think it's great that we're doing the goals. I would recommend that. I feel like the next logical step of that is annual performance reviews that are tied to when salary is being discussed. But you guys do what's best for you. But happy we're doing that. So that's great. I have a high-level question. There's 3 items here: news and announcement subscribers, all salem.ma.gov subscribers, and then code red registered phone numbers. And I know what a code red registered phone number is. I know that's a whole separate process, but what is the difference between the subscription process for the salem.ma.gov subscribers and the news and announcement subscribers? Because those are vastly different numbers. So what's the difference in that and what they receive as subscribers to those 2 separate things?
Sure. So, did you want to? Oh, I didn't know if you were about to. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
So on the city website, if you go to salem.ma.gov/subscribe, you can subscribe to any kind of content, agendas, minutes, news announcements. So that captures people who have subscribed for something on the city website. News and announcements is very specifically the news announcements that are posted on the website. It's salem.ma.gov/news. But if you sign up for news and announcements, you are also receiving those in your email inbox.
Okay. Sorry. Then I thought I understood, and then I got confused by the second thing you said. So the news and announcements is they're receiving updates from the city in their email.
Of the news announcement.
Of news and announcements, whereas all salem.ma.gov subscribers they're still receiving updates in their emails.
They've signed up for at least one thing through the city website.
Oh,
They might have signed up for city council agendas, or they might have signed up for
Not necessarily news and announcements.
updates from the health department.
Is that a unique subscriber number, or are you duplicating people who are subscribed to multiple things? Because I'd be shocked if, you're estimating 45,000 subscribers in next year, and that would be every child in the city, right? That would be, I don't think they're subscribing. So it must be duplicating people who have subscribed to multiple updates, I would think.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So if you're asking, all news and announcement subscribers are salem.ma.gov subscribers as well. But it also, I think where I think you're going is, I think a lot of people subscribe to multiple different things, different areas of the website.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My maybe request for next year when we do this is a unique subscriber thing, by email address. So unique email addresses subscribe to something for the city, I think would be a helpful additional metric to help understand how many unique people are actually trying to subscribe to stuff.
Let us clarify whether or not that isn't the unique subscribers, because I know it looks like it's a large number because there's this close to the number of residents of the city, or the population of the city, but we also have a lot of subscribers who are employees that work in the city, or people who work for the city, or that do business with the city. So every potential vendor that's bidding on an RFP is subscribed to the RFP page that the purchasing runs. So that includes hundreds, possibly thousands
Yeah.
of people.
And there's also people who will probably subscribe on multiple email addresses, even though they're one person. So that was why I was asking.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
And part of, just as a point, part of the new website, like converting over to that, they did kind of a lot of like cleaning up of that. So, even to this day, and I'm on the distribution list of that, so every single day I get like a list of people who are like either unsubscribed or just like it's a constant process of kind of honing that and cleaning it up.
Which is great for deliverability to the inbox. I think that's what happened between 2024 and 2025, that 4,000 drop off. Those are probably all bad accounts. So that's great. So another question then. So obviously you guys have anyone who comes into you, right, via email or the office, you're responding to those requests, which is awesome. In terms of communicating out information, other than the social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and the news and announcements, I mean, my understanding is news and announcements is mostly like an event is happening, or like what's going on.
No, so, yeah, I can detail the process a little bit. So say there's some kind of thing that we want to announce. It's not necessarily event related. It's like any kind of announcement that we want to make, that like we have a new program or a new award or new, I don't know, anything that's coming out of the city. A lot of times this is what happens. So we will put together a press release, and it goes out to, depending, like either a regional group of press contacts or even like a more farther reaching group, depending on the nature of the announcement. And then of course that's up to those news providers to decide if they're going to pick it up or not. And then in addition to that, we put it onto the website, the news and announcements, as the mayor indicated. It goes onto the website itself, and then it also goes to people's inboxes by email. And then, yeah, we always post the same announcement to Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, Blue Sky, and Threads. So it's pretty extensive, I would say. And then also, of course, if it's like an emergency, then we'll send it out through Code Red. And we also have the Salem MA, My Salem MA app that we have notifications that go out there. And the Salem Compass that goes out of our office that is put together by Sabrina Trask.
That's great. Yeah, I've seen the press releases come through, like when street sweeping was originally starting, like the press release was the main spot for the good spot to get all the info, although then a lot of the links died when we reset all the street sweeping.
Yeah.
So found them another way.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing that I was going to mention too. We also, if you're not familiar, we have the NIAC, the Neighborhood Improvement Advisory Committee, which is comprised of neighborhood leaders, and so we meet every month, and I share all the updates with them, and they're able to distribute it out to their neighborhood members.
So that's all wonderful. I guess my question for you is, do you envision any initiatives in the next year to like even expand past that point for public communication, how we communicate and what we communicate?
Yeah, I mean, always open to ideas for that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, open to ideas for sure. I think there's not many platforms where, except for, I think we're no longer on X, but there aren't many platforms further where we could go. I mean, we also have the new resident guide, so that's delivered to every new resident that has kind of the evergreen information about city services and like who to contact for what. But open ideas. I think we're in this weird space now around public communications where there are more platforms than ever to be able to share information, but it feels harder and harder to get through to people because of algorithms, because not everyone's on the same platforms. The council has certainly been helpful. Those of you who do have newsletters and your own social media presences and like amplifying updates and information when we need to share them out, but always open to new ideas and trying to push people to sign up for things. But
Yeah, and I think like, I would just say also in addition to that, just what we had mentioned before, I mean, we're trying to be sort of analog too, in terms of showing up at places and tabling and doing the walks and things like that, because sometimes, and a lot of times, like, even not just our office, but the city in general, like if there's something going on, then, it gets like flyered, in the neighborhood or something, like, because sometimes it's so hard, there's so much noise that it's just so hard to figure out exactly how to reach people where they are, but we're always trying.
I know you are. To be clear, I know you work hard. Through it. I would just say the only two things that I might throw out there as ideas, you guys can take them or leave them, is it might be helpful, because I know the Salem, Massachusetts Reddit subreddit is one of the most active municipal subreddits like in the country. It might be worth making like a City of Salem account that then like posts the same type of press releases that you guys post, just because I know rumors fly on the subreddit really fast, and it might be helpful to just have like an official voice on there. And then I also know that some cities do, in addition to like the news and announcements, like as they come through, some cities do a more curated newsletter, so like a once a month from the mayor's office that is not related to like the mayor as a candidate, but like from the mayor's office, like event, like similar to what you do actually internally for the employee newsletter, but like a similar thing, but for like city subscribers. That's like a once a month newsletter, and it would honestly potentially replace what some of the council.
Yeah, we do have that. Yeah,
Compass comes out every.
That is the Salem Compass. Okay, I was confused on that. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, the Salem, Spotlight, Snapshot.
Then I just need to get people to subscribe.
Yes.
That's on me. I'll work on that. Thank you. And then, okay, sorry. That's all I had on communications. And then, this is related. The new resident guides that you mentioned, I know you do the new resident guides, and then you also do the rental packets for affordable housing and the Salem for All Ages 65th birthday packets. Those two second ones, I kind of understand the metric. For the new resident guides, who actually gets those? My understanding is it's just home owners who have purchased a home who have moved from outside of Salem. Is that accurate?
So I'm actually not sure if it's specifically if they've moved out from outside of Salem or if they're just moving to a new house.
So we have uniform access to information about home purchases, but we don't have uniform access to information about new renters when they necessarily move into this, unless the landlord discloses it to us. So everyone who purchases a new house based on Registry of Deeds information, if they're not already listed in the city census, so we're not sharing, I think for being efficient with resources, if they're new to the city and they've made a purchase, they receive the new resident guide. Lori has worked really diligently to build relationships with the multifamily buildings so that the new resident guide is also provided to those management companies so they can provide them to tenants. I think we have less access into like the smaller rental buildings. So if landlords voluntarily inform us or tell Lori or Michael that they have new tenants, we're able to provide guides to them to provide to them.
And we're in the process of creating a system to make that a little bit easier for them to reach out to us and request that.
Going to be my follow-up question. Is there a digital like landing page where all of the information that would traditionally be available in the new resident guide would be visible? Because that might be just helpful to be like new to Salem.
Good idea.
Website page.
So the new resident guide is on the mayor's office website. We can point people to if they want it.
Great, that's awesome. All right, I have another question, switching gears. I'm just curious about the North Shore LGBTQ plus meetings. It looks like we did not have them until 2025. We had 4 of them, and then we have not had any since, and we don't plan to have any more. What's up with that?
Yes, so that's not something that we run. It's something that specifically our Salem Children's Alliance director is a part of, and I checked in with her about that this year, and when we were putting this together, and she said that that was an initiative that was pulled together, but then there was some hesitancy from the group that was organizing it to keep it going. I think there were some concerns about safety. I think that was part of that, which is why they had pulled back. But they were like rethinking and refiguring out a new path forward. But for now, that's that particular path is not one that they're pursuing at this moment.
And then I'm just sorry, I'm realizing this is why I got confused about the Salem Compass newsletter. I just see issues. I don't see subscribers as a metric that's here. So maybe for next year, adding Salem Compass subscribers as a line item, that might be helpful. And then my last question is I'm just a little confused about the code red messages sent to the public metrics over time. It looks like in 2024 we peaked at 46 messages and our estimate for 2026 is only 34. I'm a little curious if that is accurate because we've had so many snowstorms. I feel like that is low and not possibly right. I don't know. But to me, I feel like we should be just looking at the data of how people are subscribed to things. Code red is possibly one of the more subscribed to. It's a little hard to tell from the data, but I'd say it's probably one of the more popular things that people are subscribed to. So the more we use it, the better, in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say it is exclusively reserved for emergencies. So it is really something that we want to make sure we're reserving for those. Like, we don't want to overload how we're reaching out through that process. You know, like we have to balance it. And I'm not really sure why the peak was in 2024. I'm not really sure exactly.
I understand it, the idea of it being exclusively reserved for emergencies, but my understanding is that that has not historically been the case. I mean, it's for if a road is closed.
Sorry, I think I misspoke about that. Yeah.
Like it's used for other stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we try to limit, whether it's code red or whatever the next system may be, to limit the use of what should be an emergency notification system for things. I mean, we have historically used it for a trash delay. So if we stopped doing that, I think people would have a real problem with it. But we also receive requests from a lot of departments for things that are really not appropriate for an emergency notification system. And so we're trying to limit new uses of that system because people will stop paying attention to it when we actually need them to pay attention to it.
Right. Every time we send out a message, I think it's interesting, like we get a lot of unsubscribers every time we send a message out. So because it's like people are like, oh my gosh, you know, like I've gotten too many messages. But there's always a balance of trying to figure out like how to make sure that we're reaching people an appropriate amount of times through the channels that, you know, so we're always evaluating that.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. City Hall does come up as spam on my phone now because of those calls. I will say I appreciate all the texts that I get. I always feel like they are helpful. I don't know what other things you're getting requested, but what you're doing so far seems good. So that is it for my questions.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you, Chair Davis. Very quickly, too, and I do appreciate it being mindful of not sending too many because then people unsubscribe. We don't want that to happen. But I've noticed one thing that was helpful, particularly in October, and it seemed like more people were using it, and I was wondering your thoughts, is the app, the My Salem Mass app. It seemed, like I said, particularly, you know, road closures and information during October. Is what I'm seeing a reality? Was that helpful? Do you find more people using that?
I would say yes. We're trying to push residents and community members to the app for notifications about road closures in October. Destination Salem is trying to push visitors to their app, and we share the same notifications when they go out in as timely a manner as possible. In the past, I think those kinds of notifications would have been put on social media. But the way that social media platforms now operate, you could see a notification that's 4 days old, and you could put a date and a time on it, and people still think, oh my God, they closed that road now. But the app is a timely notification, so it is, I think, our preferred way of providing those kinds of updates.
Yes, I'd agree with that. Instead of flooding like somebody's, phone with texts and emails, I found a lot of people using that, like they'd see something, it's like, oh, I wonder what, is there something going on? Or they're like, oh, I'm heading out trying to get to Crosby's. I wonder if there's any, road closures that have popped up. So then you're not flooding people, but they have a real-time option. And I think, I'm happy when the time comes to have a reminder to push out using that app and to keep, enhancing that, because that people did find that helpful, at least in my experience.
Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, Chair Davis, and thanks for the presentation. I just have one quick question. It's really a clarification off of Councilor King's, I think, initial question. So does the mayor's office and also all the departments, do they do annual performance reviews for their employees?
No, the goal-setting process is the new evaluation process that we use.
And there wasn't an annual performance review?
No.
before?
So historically, over the last few decades, the city has attempted performance evaluation programs for employees, and it never kind of worked, I think, as well as we would have hoped. So when I came into office, it was more of a focus around goal setting. We do have an informal, practice of evaluating whether or not an employee is completing the work that's required of them based on their job descriptions. It's certainly for the non-union employees, there's more latitude in doing that. But the goal setting was intended to be more of I think, a positive-based approach to it than a punitive-based approach.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
The Housing Stability Coordinator has already been kind of touched on, just how critical that role is. Lori Stewart does such an incredible job. I can only imagine the caseload, the case management, the workload. Just such a tremendously important role. I know that the desire has kind of been tossed around by councilors in the past of wanting to see that role kind of expanded to more roles, maybe at some point an entire department, just with the incredible amount of housing instability, and then just also thinking about maybe kind of adding a proactive approach. I'm sure so many people that are struggling with housing instability don't know about the Housing Stability Coordinator and the help that they can get from that, or probably a lack of general knowledge about housing rights. Of course, financial pressures are a thing. I'm just curious if that is a vision, a long-term vision you would kind of identify, whether there's been conversations about that, just having that role expanded upon in any way.
I don't know about expanding it to a full department at this point, but I think, I know that Lori is incredibly busy and a lot is asked of her. We're trying to manage the requests for assistance that she receives better through an intake form that I think many of the counselors have been helpful in making use of. We do try to have some, like, a force multiplier approach to the housing work. So with the high-risk homeless task force, which Lori participates in, the rental information packets that she provides to the rental buildings, so that people do understand, like, what her number is, what programs they can access. We do have the Housing Stability Service with the Essex County Bar Association still. That's another program that was funded through, it wasn't ARPA funds, it was CARES funds, the first COVID relief funding. And that program was maintained through CDBG, and we're still keeping that. So, the Essex County Bar is able to provide an additional level of service for people if they're not able to get to Lori, or if they need to talk to an attorney. So that's really the approach we're taking with it. And I think if there's ways to more effectively communicate out the kinds of services that Lori is able to provide, or if it's a service that she can connect a resident with in the city, that in a different department, that as well. Like, a lot of the information that she takes in sometimes is, oh, you're having a problem with certificate of fitness in your landlord. You don't actually need to talk to the mayor's office. We need to get you speaking with somebody in the health department. So it's that kind of switchboard operator as well.
Yeah, and I'll just add, in addition to all of those ways that we're force multiplying, I think she always makes a point of kind of using the data she's gathering and kind of the anecdotes that she's gathering to advocate for policy change, that is, that now that we have all of this experience through her, we can kind of like speak to the needs in a much deeper way than we could have before. So,
Thank you.
helpful.
Councilor Turowski.
Thank you, Chair Davis. And I'll be brief. I did just want to say that as somebody who is representing a lot of people who don't speak English as a first language, I really, really appreciate the push to have not only text, but also infographics put out in bilingual modes. I'm thinking to the heat safety graphic that was pushed out yesterday. I think that messaging like that affects our most vulnerable people, it's really important for it to be bilingual. So, and I know Julio does a lot of hard work with the Code Red announcements and the city announcements too, so I really appreciate that, because it's really hard to engage with somebody if you can't communicate them. And to compound it, a lot of those people who need that engagement most probably don't live here as long as a lot of people that have been living here for decades. So thank you a lot for that. I really appreciate it, and I try to share that wherever I can.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. If I can just expand on it. We didn't talk about it during the HR budget, but we do have language access stipends. So there are not many cities that are providing a stipend to bilingual employees for doing translation interpretive work for their departments. So it's not just Julio. We have many people across the departments that are doing that work for their departments. And for the departments where they don't have that level of staff capacity, I've directed them to put it into their consulting and contracted services line so that they can translate those public-facing documents. We do have a language access policy now that public-facing information needs to be provided in English and Spanish. The schools have been doing it for a very long time well, and there's no reason city departments can't do it. So what I would ask also is, help hold us accountable to that. If you see something come out from a department or something is shared out even by my own office, and it's only in English, let us know, and we'll work to correct that.
Challenge accepted. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? All right, Councilor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the mayor's personnel budget in the amount of $792,131.
Second.
Councilor King moves to approve the mayor personnel line item budget in the amount of $792,131, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see 4 hands, including my own. The matter carries. Councilor King.
Thank you, Chair Davis. I move to recommend the approval of the mayor's expenditures budget in the amount of $122,001.
Second.
Councilor King moves to recommend the approval of the mayor's expenditures line item in the amount of $122,001, seconded by Councilor Sidoriak. All those in favor? The record show I see 4 hands, including my own. Matter carries. For the public's knowledge, that brings us to a department total of $914,132. Thank you very much to the mayor's office, and I will entertain another motion.
No CIPs for the mayor's office? Sorry, point of clarification.
Correct.
I motion to adjourn.
Councilor King motions to adjourn. All those in favor? We are adjourned.